Come back all the information lovers. Hey guys, this is going to be a very interesting video. Towards the end of the video, all of us will come to know as to how common citizens are fooled and are used during the election campaigning. And once the results are out, the voters are good for nothing for these leaders. Logically, today's topic is a bit complex. At first, it's going to make complete sense. Then, for a moment, it might not. But trust me, by the end, it will all click together. So, stick with me, because we're about to break down one of the most profitable and destructive cycles in modern history. The two contradictions. Let's start with two seemingly contradictory facts. Fact number one, the United States spends more on defense than the next 10 countries combined. Trillions of dollars go to the Department of Defense every single year. Yet despite this massive budget, the Pentagon has a habit of literally losing track of trillions in military equipment. And when they do get new weapons, the military often rejects them outright because they have no use for them. Fact number two, despite this surplus of unused weapons, we also see endless military interventions, particularly in the Middle East and North Africa. For over half a century, while North America and Western Europe have remained relatively peaceful, war after war has erupted in the Middle East. And in recent years, the pattern continues, from Iraq and Afghanistan to Syria, Libya, Yemen, and now Gaza. Wars that are framed as fights for democracy, security, or human rights. But here's the thing. These two facts aren't contradictions at all. They are two sides of the same system, a system that thrives on waste, price gouging, and endless bloodshed, all to serve a few powerful interests. Segment 2. The price of war. To understand this, you only need to look at one simple graph. A chart comparing two things. 1. The price of oil. 2. The return on investment, ROI, of the world's top fossil fuel companies. And here's the shocking pattern. Whenever oil company profits start to decline, war follows. Almost every major conflict in the Middle East since the 1960s has come right after a dip in fossil fuel profits. And every time war breaks out, those profits skyrocket. It's not a coincidence. Most of us already understand that many wars in the Middle East have been about oil, but we're usually fed a different story. Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. Iraq War. The Taliban is an existential threat. Afghanistan War. We need to spread democracy. Every war, ever. But time and again, these narratives crumble, and top U.S. officials eventually admit the truth. Conflicts like Iraq were always about oil. George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, both oil executives. ExxonMobil, Chevron, BP, and Shell. They spent record amounts lobbying for war before September 11th. And what happened after the invasion? These same companies secured unprecedented access to Iraqi oil fields, something they had been pushing for since the 1990s. Segment 3, the oil war economy. But this oil war cycle didn't just happen by accident. It was designed. After World War II, as former colonies in the Middle East gained independence, they formed OPEC, a coalition that controlled oil production and prices. This was a huge threat to Western corporations, who had been exploiting these resources for decades. The solution? A new system of control, one where oil-producing nations were nominally independent, but still forced to rely on Western corporations to refine, transport, and sell their oil. And to ensure maximum profits, oil prices had to remain high. Here's the key part. Oil prices don't follow basic supply and demand. Instead, they're based on perceived scarcity, and nothing inflates the perception of scarcity more than war. The 1973 Israeli-Arab conflict, Oil prices surged. The 1979 Iranian Revolution? Prices spiked again. The Iran-Iraq War, Gulf War, and Iraq invasion? Same story. Every single time, fossil fuel profits surged, not because oil was actually scarce, but because war created the fear that it might be. And it's not just oil. This same system fuels the arms industry too. Segment 4, the war machine. By the 1970s, U.S. weapons manufacturers had a problem. The Vietnam War was ending, meaning less government spending on weapons. But just as the military was looking to cut its budget, oil-producing countries were suddenly overflowing with cash. And they had a problem too. There was only so much American-made food, clothes, and cars they could buy before their dollars started piling up. So what did they spend their surplus cash on? Unlike other products, weapons. Unlike other products, you can never have enough weapons. They don't expire. They don't become too much. Their entire purpose is just to exist, to make a country look stronger, whether they're used or not. The result? A never-ending arms race where oil money is recycled back into U.S. weapons companies, keeping both industries wildly profitable. By the 1990s, the U.S. had perfected this strategy. 70% of weapons exports were no longer given as aid. They were paid for directly by oil-rich nations. The Nixon Doctrine ensured that U.S. allies, often dictatorships, would handle the fighting themselves, but using American weapons. Every U.S. administration since then, Republican or Democrat, has been stacked with executives from oil and defense companies. Segment 5, the political machine. At this point, you might be wondering, why does this never stop? Because this system isn't just about money, it's about power. The Pentagon, Congress, and corporate lobbyists work together to ensure that this war economy never slows down. When oil and weapons companies start losing profits, they push more aggressive foreign policies. They use their political influence to escalate tensions, whether that's ramping up rhetoric against China, Russia, or Iran. And they threaten Congress with job losses if they don't approve more military spending, despite overwhelming evidence that investing in literally anything else, infrastructure, healthcare, education, would create more jobs. At the end of the day, war isn't just a byproduct of bad decisions. It's deliberately manufactured by the industries and individuals who profit from it. Now, what conclusion can a common citizens like you, me, or anyone else draw out of this exact situation, which I have placed in front of your eyes? Now, each one of us has to more smart and stop being fools. So, next time you hear a politician talk about defending democracy, ask yourself, who's profiting from this war? Who's lobbying for it? And what happened the last time oil and weapons companies needed a boost? Because until we break this cycle, the next war isn't a question of if, it's a question of when. So, wake up, raise your voices. Not for others, but at least for the bright future of your near and dear ones. Because unless we start with the step, nothing is going to change. Now it's we who has to decide whether to change or not. If you found this story shocking, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Which burning topic of the society should we cover next? Let us know in the comments. Till then, stay blessed.